Hello my friends, welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. This is Jennifer. I'm coming to you from my garage today because the weather is awful. Last week I mentioned that I had finished quilting my personal backlog of Linus Connection tops and I was going to start working on orphan blocks, and I did. I spent most of my sewing time last week doing orphan block quilts, and guys, I made not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 orphan block quilts. And to be fair, orphan block quilts are basically already started because they are using blocks that other people have made and donated. The first one I want to show you guys is on the wall. This was made, I would say most of the fabric that you see that's red or Wonder Woman, those all came from Jeannie. She sent me a whole bunch of blocks that were Wonder Woman themed. There were some Justice League ones. I took some of the original blocks and took them apart and changed out some of the colors. So like this one, there was black in these spaces, there was a black print there, and so I changed them just to make them like pop a little bit more. All of these on point ones, she made the center part and then I put the yellow on. So this is a really good size. I think it's a more mature quilt, but it's also got the punch of Wonder Woman, and I really like the way it turned out. And I love the back as well. This just has like little circles all over it, and it's a pale gray, so I tried to keep it more mature looking to go with the size. The next orphan block quilt that I worked on is not finished. This one's actually quilted and bound, but the next one that I finished, the next top, started with some blocks from Abby. She sent me a set that had 3 giant pieces that were each made of 2 blocks that had been sashed together, and they had wide borders on the outside. It took me a little while to figure out what to do with them, and in the end what I did was I took the wide sashing off and I took the 2 blocks and I separated them, and I did that for all the pieces. When I decided to put it back together, I wanted to break those blocks up a little bit so you could really see them. There are 6 blocks on the top. I sashed it with yellow just to like break those blocks apart, and then I added some sashing on the sides because it was a little bit narrow. And then I think when I bind it, I'm probably going to use either green or like hot pink. I'm trying to make more quilts for our older kids because we've had a run on all of our camp quilts. So that's what we've been pushing most of our larger quilts to, and I want to make sure that we have enough for our regular facilities that are still serving those middle school and high school age kids. The next 2 tops I want to show you guys came from primarily the same donation. Lynn has been sending me all kinds of great quilt tops and quilt blocks that were from her sister-in-law, who has sadly passed away, and so she's been sending me a lot of her UFOs. You might remember that when I did quilts for Australia, that one of those quilts that I quilted was from Lynn, and it was a blue Lone Star. It was a blue like tessellated Lone Star. It had like a spin to it. Well, she sent me all the leftover pieces, and there was enough probably to make another Lone Star quilt, but I didn't need something that large. It was going to be really huge, like full size to queen size. So I took the individual pieces, and brace yourself if you're a Lone Star lover, I cut all those Lone Star pieces into squares. I got 4.5-inch squares and 8.5-inch squares and very little left over, and I pieced those into a top. These were Lone Star pieces that I cut into squares, and so it gives you like a funky sort of tessellated look. I will tell you guys that I did have a bit of a pause right before I started cutting this up, going, do I really want to do this? Am I really going to cut these Lone Star pieces up? But you know, I think this makes a great funky quilt for, you know, an older kid. It came out so much better than I could have even anticipated. I was hoping it would look cool, but I think it looks really cool. Another thing that Lynn sent me was a giant tumbling block, and I've been looking at it for a while trying to figure out what to do with it. And I had no idea, so I squared it up, made it into a rectangle, and I just pieced it with some squares, and that's it. That's what I did with it. So it's blue, and then I added this cool stripy border to pull some of the other colors from the squares out. This one's more of a middle size. It's not quite as big, but I still really like the way it turned out. I've saved this one for last on purpose. You guys know that I collect orphan blocks, and one of the things that I get in the mail on a fairly regular basis are Project of Doom blocks. And for those of you who are new here, the Project of Doom is the Harry Potter bookcase quilt that I designed in 2011 and ran as a quilt along in 2011, 2015. And it's really just an ongoing quilt along. There are still people this minute who are quilting along to the Project of Doom. It's definitely my most popular thing that I ever created, and it's grown just infinitely since then, with lots of other designers also contributing blocks. So I had a number of Project of Doom blocks. Some of them were small and some of them were big, but I had just received from Gretchen a whole bunch of 6.5-inch blocks that she had shrunk. So I turned it into a more narrow shelved sort of miniature Project of Doom. These were from Sarah in Houston, and then I have some down here those were calendar quilts. And then I have a few that came from Gretchen that were like leftover rail fence, but those were not bookcase blocks. Those were rail fence or calendar quilts that I just manipulated and made them fit. I can't wait to show you this one closer when I actually get it quilted. I have 2 more quick things to show you guys. I updated some of my storage. I use a lot of 2.5-inch strips when I'm doing orphan block quilts. Almost all of these have 2.5-inch strips in them somewhere. In fact, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say all of them have 2.5-inch strips in them. And one of the things that I do is I pre-cut a lot of fabric using my AccuQuilt into 2.5-inch strips. This bin was previously my 2.5-inch strips, and I had this bin, and then I had 2 giant, like the big zipper bags, the like 2.5-gallon ones. I had 2 of those full of 2.5-inch strips. So it was impossible to find anything. I had them all over the table, so I sorted all of them. And I ordered 6 art bins from Amazon. They're like, I think I paid $31 for 6. And they're all sorted by color. I have them organized rainbow color, so red, orange, yellow, and the next one is green, and then blue, and then etc. But so much easier to get in and out of. And you just pop them open, and 2.5-inch strips. This guy has been repurposed for mask making. Everything that's in here is pre-washed fabric. My elastic's in here, my t-shirt ties are in here, my interfacing is in here, everything's here, my patterns are in here, so that if I do need to make more masks, it's all in one place. And that's it. That's what I've been doing this week. Just a little bit, right guys? My mojo's been on. I think that knowing that I have a limited amount of time left to really be active has really pushed me to get as much stuff done as I can. So I'm really trying to get a lot of Linus quilts done. I'd like to reach my goal of 24 quilts before I have surgery, probably end of August, beginning of September. So I'm actually pretty close. I think I have 18. I need to go back and look, but I would like to reach that goal. If I don't, it's fine, but it would be really nice for me. It would just make me feel good to be able to do that. I hope you guys have a really wonderful week. I hope you have a crafty week. I hope you're doing okay. If you were Talk to Me Tuesday, or we're talking about doing a very small swap, please see that post and comment. I'm thinking signups are going to go up Friday. I've narrowed it down to 2 ideas, one from Susan, one from Jennifer, and we might just combine the 2. So I will let you know more about that in the swap post. Okay, I'll shut up now. You guys have a wonderful week. I'll see you next week. Bye.